Of the scores of countries I've visited, including China, Cuba, Vietnam, and Nicaragua, Russia is the only one where I was followed, intimidated, and harassed by government forces. Back then, I naively thought the bad old days were over. I was wrong, but not alone. After years of misreading Russia, Western leaders must finally grasp the grim reality. Russia has been at war with the civilized world for years. Decades of spreading deadly disinformation and conspiracy theories, downing civilian airliners, silencing dissidents, hacking, spying, election interference, and nuclear blackmail make it clear that nowhere is safe from Russia's malignant maliciousness. It can sometimes feel like Russia is winning and the free world is wobbling. But Ukraine showed me that courage is contagious, and while evil works hard, we can work harder. Ukraine was a peaceable nation struggling to overcome its Soviet past and the politics of corruption, intolerance, and fear that Russia peddles. So, Russia invaded, and Ukraine realized they must fight for peace. I think we should help, because I don't want to live in a world where the ignorant rule the wise, the corrupt subjugate the honorable, and the cowards oppress the courageous. It's time for the world's good people to unite to counter the deadly propaganda, call out the craven apologist, reject the resets, and grip the reality to fight for peace. It's time for My Summer in Ukraine, Chapter 4. Travel. For some, it's a luxurious escape, or maybe an adrenaline-filled adventure. But if you're like me, it's a precious opportunity to discover and to give back. It's time to get real. It's time to get raw. It's time for RawTravel. Traveling to a country at war is unpredictable. I was in Ukraine after Russia had recently exploded the Kakhovka Dam, unleashing a massive eco-terrorism event of biblical proportions. However, potentially worse, Russia occupied one of Europe's largest nuclear power plants in Zaporizhia. They were threatening a false flag nuclear calamity, and all of Ukraine was on edge, including me. I wanted to see if I could obtain iodine pills just in case nuclear disaster struck.
Let's see if they have them.
But to no avail.
So just as I suspected, they do not have them. I'll keep trying.
So I embraced the Ukrainian mantra of remaining calm and fighting on. Fighting an unscrupulous but better equipped enemy like Russia requires innovation. Ukrainians are masters at the do-it-yourself variety. They were converting consumer drones into fighting machines.
So we have all types of drones working to win the war.
Ukrainian videographer Anastasia had a friend who helped us obtain access to one of the new privately funded kamikaze drone schools. We ventured out on a beautiful but windy summer day to run maneuvers with the student soldiers on their final training day. They were from different regiments, and each would take their skills back to their division to use on the battlefield.
Боковий вітер дуже сильний.
The day began with classroom and flight simulator training. Many of these young soldiers grew up on video games. I did not, and it shows.
Oh, man.
As we headed out to maneuvers in the field, I first noticed their use of privately owned vehicles, which seemed more at home on the freeway than on the farm.
Sorry, they need trucks. These guys need trucks.
However, the lack of military vehicles was a relatively minor concern.
That's mine, but this right here is safe, yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Russians briefly occupied and mined this land in the early days of the full invasion. To avoid getting blown up, we stayed on a demined path, and I needed no convincing to follow directly in the team's footsteps.
Дрон готовий до арму.
Soldiers tested their skills at covertly setting up under camouflage and hitting a remote target under real-world conditions.
So a drone can fly this?
Yeah.
For practice, the drones are unarmed, and care is taken to ensure they can be used again.
Basically, the guys are just honing their skills, and they turned off the power just before it hit the target here so that it would not do damage to the drone. And obviously this is soft, so this drone will live to fly and hopefully fight another day.
Lessons on drone repair and obstacle course training help complete a 10-day training course. At the end of the training, students received their degrees and awards for individual outstanding achievement, and their camaraderie was palpable. They were now ready to put their skills to the test and their lives on the line to fight for peace.
Слава Україні! Молодці хлопці!
Thing is so fast, it's screaming.
I was honored to observe a drone school in an undisclosed area of Ukraine. The drones are a low-budget way for Ukrainians to defend themselves against morally unrestrained Russian aggressors. They are often homemade with parts funded by supporters from abroad and patriotic Ukrainians. Like Oleksiy, an IT specialist turns drone school patron. The entire school was pulled together with the help of volunteers and friends.
As you can see, everything here just made by ourselves. Our team are working on developing our drones, and a lot of other volunteers are working on it.
For Ukraine, winning the war means saving lives. Drones can help them do this.
The first aim is to save lives.
There is no safe way to have a war, but it's a little bit safer if you can operate at a distance, correct? And that's what a drone gives you, correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
For Russia, this is a war of choice, and their soldiers are mere cannon fodder. For Ukraine, this is a war for survival, and each human life is revered.
As I said, our main idea to save lives.
Saving the lives of people like Ole, a software engineer turned soldier.
You know, I decided that if it comes to a all-out war, sure, I'm gonna go and fight for Ukraine, so now it happened.
Few want peace more than those putting their lives on the line.
We all want the war to end, and war is bad, you know, but, you know, you have to do what you have to do.
But peace with Russia must be won.
Це моя земля, тут мої батьки, моя жінка. Я тут народився, і я буду сражатися за кожний метр цієї землі до останньої своєї краплі крові.
Victor studied to be a school teacher, but now he's fighting for freedom.
I don't want that Russians will tell me what to do here and how to think, how to speak, how to behave.
Drones exemplify how a big heart plus creative smarts can prevail over brute strength.
It helps to be more efficient in the battlefield.
Chechnya, Syria, and now Ukraine. Russia's track record of terrorism against civilians is not only abhorrent, but inexcusable.
Since it is such a modern times, and it's a technological war, why do you think Russia is unable to stop hitting civilian targets?
I think they, when they plan to attack the military base, they don't check is there anywhere playground of children they can hit. They hit the child and no soldier was wounded. They will say there was soldiers and this child probably was also a supporter.
Killing children and targeting civilians are just a few of many Russian war crimes, but Victor vows repercussions.
They will pay for it in Ukraine because we don't want to live with this.
Military kitchen.
Anastasia and I were invited to a celebratory goodbye meal, during which Ukrainian innovation was again on full display. I thought about how just months earlier, many of these soldiers were mere civilians. Now, some may never return home to their families. I was honored and privileged by this experience and a bit surprised by my emotions. Then it occurred to me why. Freedom is not hegemony, it's a fundamental human right. And like peace, it's worth fighting for.
Freedom is a thing you can feel.
I've been impressed by how much Ukrainians love their country, but thanks to Russia, deep pain is the price of this love. While some have paid the ultimate price, everyone pays something. There are tens of thousands of amputees in Ukraine already. Volodymyr is a successful businessman, but he understands living in a free society made his success possible. He and his English-speaking assistant, Marta, took me to see a military hospital. It didn't take long to understand why they were so passionate about helping these freshly injured soldiers.
В першу чергу це військові поранені, які втратили кінцівки, які захищали Україну, і вони мають право на те, щоб їх нормально лікували, нормально вернутися до життя, протезування і так далі. Їм вкрай необхідна така допомога в тих питаннях.
Volodymyr's counterpart, Galina, came for one visit and never left.
Why do you care so much about these soldiers?
Тому що я знаю, що я зможу, і це мій фронт боротьби. І ми не можемо лишити людей, які ризикують своїм життям, на призволяще, і ми мусимо їм допомагати стати на ноги, стати фізично на ноги і стати сильними духовно.
With her son serving in the war, perhaps it's also a chance to express her motherly instincts.
І це є психотерапія. Це все, коли родина, коли велика українська родина, хоч вона пройшла і такий шлях трагічний.
As the team toured me around to meet the patients, I could easily see that Galina practices what she preaches. Alexander was injured in the battle to retake Kherson several months before.
Today, this leg doesn't work, but Alexander very hope that in future that leg will work.
So you still have some feeling.
His recovery is painful and slow, but ongoing.
Hopefully, a prosthetic here.
Yep.
This leg will recover, and Alexander will be able to walk.
Yeah, we hope.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Yes, we hope.
Oleg's injury was serious, but less severe than Alexander's.
Отут, оця частина, то, що йому звідси брали шкіру і приживляли.
Remarkably, it only took him 1 month to master the obstacle course.
Wow. Wow. Very nice.
Я горжуся нашим.
Like many institutions in Ukraine, the hospital is overwhelmed by the war and is understaffed and underfunded. Through donations and volunteers, the hospital carries on and can address a variety of battle injuries.
Молодець.
Oh, yeah.
Молодець. Він приїхав до нас, вона взагалі не рухала.
When faced with such grave injuries, a positive attitude is paramount. Galina's loving and upbeat spirit is crucial to their recovery.
Hello, how are you? Robert.
Анатолій.
As I met these and other wounded warriors, I was struck by the atmosphere of solidarity and love despite their devastating injuries.
Our guys is unbreakable, yes, and is very brave, and we will survive in any way, and we will win.
I agree. 100%.
I had tried to steel myself for the sadness of this assignment. Instead, after meeting these heroes, I felt hopeful optimism and tremendous admiration. As I wound up my tour admiring the artwork the patients had created, I was told that remarkably, amputees often return to fight with their brothers. Then I thought about the folks back home who glibly lectured me that little Ukraine could never defeat mighty Russia. But unlike me, they have not experienced the indomitable spirit of these heroes and the hardy resilience of the people of Ukraine.
І наше серце для вас, для американського народу.
One survival response to living in a war zone is to try to normalize things. For Ukrainians, stoicism is second nature. For me, not so much. Yet I found the calmness and courage of Ukrainians contagious. As the end of my travels approached, I discovered I did not wish to leave. Alas, the time to return home was drawing nigh, but only after experiencing another innovative way that Ukrainians have adapted to fight for peace. In Kiev, Anastasia and her boyfriend Vlad invited me to a vegan festival raising money for troops on the front lines.
Let's check out the vegan festival.
As the name suggests, the vegan festival was a great place to grab some delicious healthy food, which we took full advantage of. But the festival was way more than food and music. It was a chance for war-weary Ukrainians to support each other. Morj is the friend of a punk rock friend of mine. In peacetime, we'd likely have met at a rowdy punk concert, but these are not peaceful times.
I want calm music and everything relaxed.
If everyday life is chaos,
Yes.
you need to calm down,
yeah.
right?
Morj is originally from Crimea, which Russia illegally invaded and annexed in 2014. Like many, he never fathomed that Russia would also try to take Kiev.
So it has to feel like Russia and Putin is trying to steal your home
Twice.
2 times.
Twice, yes.
To a visitor, events in Kiev can project a false sense of normalcy. But dig deeper, and there is worry. Hardly anyone doesn't have a friend or family member who is in danger of or has already been killed or wounded while fighting for peace.
Every time you speak again about the war and your friends who died or who were injured. This is exhausting experience.
Staying productive helps, so perhaps that's why every Ukrainian I met contributed somehow to the war effort. Morj and his friends created a company that provided vegetarian meals ready to eat, or MREs, for vegetarian soldiers on the front lines.
And a lot of our customers went to the front lines and they said, guys, we need some vegan food. We made food and sent them to the front lines, to those who fight.
I too am a vegetarian, but I marvel at how anyone can be so disciplined about their diet under such life and death stress.
Those who are on front lines in severe conditions, they are still have a strong bond to not killing animals. They are still vegan, and we have to support them any kind of way.
One of the many things I've noticed about Ukraine is how much people love their animals. And you can judge a lot by a society by how well they treat their animals.
I think the main difference between Ukraine and Russia that love lives here in Ukraine and doesn't live there in Russia, because they are enemies to themselves. They don't feel themselves loved, and they don't have the feeling of love to each other.
Right.
So, and here in Ukraine we have strong bonds among the people. We love each other. There are a lot of people to love here, and I have that feeling in me.
Ukraine's history is fraught, and just as today, much misery emanates from Russia. Yet somehow, most Ukrainians exude love and light.
Every dark time ends and the light happens, so I truly believe that someday we'll see that, and I hope that it will come as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, man. Good times are coming, man. Good times are coming.
For
Hang
sure.
in there.
Good times are coming for Ukraine. I genuinely believe this. But as I reluctantly said goodbye to my friends to catch a train to Poland and a flight back to the US, I couldn't help but worry about them and wonder how much more needless suffering they would absorb from Russia before the good times finally come. And then I remembered, sometimes to have peace, you must fight for it. Ukrainians are more than doing their part. Now it's time for us to do ours.